So we begin the readout tonight with the freak show. This weekend was the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, a showcase of just how extreme the once grand old party has become. How extreme, you ask? Well, as NBC News is reporting, Nazis mingled openly at CPAC, spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and finding allies. Yes, you did hear me say Nazis. NBC News noted in previous years, conference organizers have ejected well-known Nazis and white supremacists, such as Nick Fuentes, from CPAC. But this year, racist conspiracy theorists didn't meet any perceptible resistance at the conference where Donald Trump has been the keynote speaker since 2017. CPAC has repeatedly denied it, calling NBC's reporting fake news and grossly manipulative, and even going so far as to smear the NBC News reporter who was there talking to those very Nazis that CPAC says weren't there, saying our reporter was carrying the water for Hamas in his reporting of the recent Middle East conflict. Really, guys? Well, NBC News has the receipts, including both photo and video evidence of prominent white supremacists attending the event. Now, unless this was someone other than a Nazi giving a Nazi salute in the lobby of the conference hotel, well, there you have it. They are letting literal Nazis into their den of idolatrous Trump worship. I guess it makes sense, since CPAC goes beyond just Trump worship by also serving as the coming together of those pushing white replacement theory and anti-immigrant bigotry. And not far from that conference in Washington, D.C., you have almost the entirety of the Republican Party in Congress worshiping Trump, too. You have this guy.
There's no question, none, that President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day. No question about it.
Even Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who clearly knows better, is reportedly in talks to endorse Trump, despite the fact that Trump has repeatedly mocked him, reportedly calling him a done son of a B word, not to mention repeatedly mocking his wife and former Trump cabinet member Elaine Chao. McConnell is preparing to kiss the ring. And today, McConnell, along with Speaker Mike Johnson, who just last week made the pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago for the mandatory thumbs-up photo with the man pulling his strings, joined Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries at the White House with President Biden to discuss the looming government shutdown. Now, of course, if there's any potential to prevent a government shutdown, it's not McConnell or Johnson who will decide that. They will need to turn to the party's real leader, Geppetto himself, Donald Trump. And right now, Trump's concern has nothing to do with whether the government shuts down. He may actually prefer it, believing it will somehow help him in the upcoming election. Remember, he wants the economy to crash before November. And that is where his concern lies. Not to become president to provide for the American people. No, no, no. It's all to save himself from accountability from the 91 criminal charges that keep him awake at night. It's clearly driving him crazy. Just look to his low-grade Twitter knockoff, where he screams in all caps that all these fake political prosecutions must be immediately halted. And part of that is because he's also really worried about all those legal bills. And it's not just the tens of millions of dollars he continues to need to pay for his lawyers. There's also the matter of the more than $500 million he owes from his civil judgments, including the fact that the meter is still running on his New York civil fraud trial to the tune of $114,000 a day in interest, on top of the $355 million principal. That explains why he's so desperate to get complete control of the RNC, to help cover his legal costs. And to make that happen, he's pushing for Trump loyalists to run the RNC, including his own daughter-in-law, Lara Trump. And what you're seeing is the entire Republican Party rolling over for him, even though he is a weakened candidate, as we've seen, based off his latest primary wins, where he has lost about 40% of the vote and faced problems not just with independent voters, but also with a large swath of Republican voters who are not willing to drink the MAGA Kool-Aid and who say they will not vote for him once he is a convicted felon. It's a problem that Trump may very well see again tonight in Michigan. Joining me now is Maria Teresa Kumar, president and CEO of Voto Latino and an MSNBC contributor, and Rick Wilson, co-founder of the Lincoln Project and a former Republican strategist. Thank you both for being here, my friends. Rick Wilson, Nazis, really?
Yeah, look, there's a problem with this. My grandmother used to call it the turd in the punch bowl. Once you have a turd in the punch bowl, it's not punch anymore. Once you have one Nazi in the door, you're not a conservative organization anymore. You're a pro-Nazi organization. And the fact that these people were there on the floor, perfectly comfortable, the fact that these people are circulating there now, because they are all part of a philosophy that Steve Bannon infected the GOP with called no enemies to my right.
Right.
Which is why they were fine with Charlottesville at a certain level, which is why they're fine with these people. They look at these people as their shock troops, as their best guys, as the people that are going to go out there and metaphorically or literally swing at their enemies.
Yeah.
And so, Matt Schlapp should be ashamed of himself.
For a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons. But he has no possibility of understanding just how corrupt and corrupted this is. Once you're okay with Nazis there, and they clearly like to see the PR damage.
Yeah.
But the guys were in the facility, giving the Heil Hitler. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. One is too many.
Yeah, and I mean the Nazis have been marching in Tennessee, Maria. They've been marching in Florida. In some cases, carrying signs, banners for DeSantis. He says nothing. They say nothing. Let me play for you just a compilation of some of what they were saying about immigration at CPAC, because what's driving this, the Nazis vote too, kind of keep them all in the tent kind of attitude, is that there is this like hysteria about immigration. Here they are at CPAC talking immigration.
The immigration issue is extremely simple. Seal the border, deport all the illegals.
Who the hell can win when you have 16 million people pouring into our country from places unknown? They have diseases nobody's ever even heard about. I'm sorry. I feel badly for the people, but we don't want to have this contagion in our country.
Our leaders are determined to repeat every mistake that led to the collapse of empires before us. Here are just a few of the common themes from history. Mass immigration and infiltration by foreigners who don't share our values and culture or even our language.
Contagion. They get even a Jewish fellow, Stephen Miller, and Ben Carson, an African-American, to say it, to say the words, to say the things. It's happening.
I think one of the biggest challenges is for us to remember what was life under Trump when he was president.
Sure.
And it was a constant anxiety across all of America. And we seem to forget that those words that they speak of actually have consequences. It was the El Paso massacre, the person who conducted that Venice crime against Latinos that was inspired by Trump's then president's feed saying that there was a mass Mexican invasion.
Right.
And 23 people lost their lives. Those words are going to translate into something else. And what my hope is that as we are going into the State of the Union from the President of the United States, is that he uses that opportunity to remind the American people the contrast between him and Trump, and that under his presidency, we are a thriving multicultural America. My concern is for that child right now who is of immigrant descent, which is the majority of us, saying, oh my goodness, I don't belong, and being othered and being bullied. There's so many incidences that we are seeing right now of racial profiling amongst ourselves that are not even reported because people feel that they cannot. And so what he is actually creating is an incredibly dangerous tension that is going to pit Americans against each other. And the only people who benefit from that? He will benefit because you allow grift, but then so do foreign actors and foreign agents.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, I'm glad you said we need to remember, because there is this mismemory where people are sort of trying to remember the Trump 4 years as the good old days. 1 million people died of COVID. Kids were being screamed at on basketball courts if they were Latino and called illegals and told get out of the country. I mean, it was an awful time, and people were so exhausted, they elected Joe Biden. But you know what Joe Biden is planning on doing right now? He's going to the border. Both of them, both he and Trump, are going to both do trips to the border. Now, the Biden team is saying they're doing it essentially to shame Republicans who refuse to vote for that border deal, which is, I guess, smart politics. But what do you make of the fact that the response on the Biden side, just as a strategist, is they, too, are going to the border?
Look, they're going to take away the one thing Trump claims he has, which is strength on the border. Biden has offered, and the Democrats have offered, the best and most balanced border security bill that's been out there in 45 years. And the people that are siding with the cartels and the coyotes and the smugglers and all the catalog of demons the Republicans talk about every day, the one guy keeping that border open is Donald Trump.
Yeah, demanding that they
He's the one. And Biden has a chance to invert the alleged strength that Trump thinks he has. And if I were Biden, I'd go down there and say, He built a wall that was a joke that we paid for. He never did anything except talk on this. And the people, the dangerous parts of the border, especially on the drug smuggling side, the fentanyl smuggling side, those are people who now rely on Donald Trump for their business model.
Yeah, and look, he's going in the midst of these polls. Let's just look at this. Is illegal immigration a very serious problem? 91% of Republicans say yes. 41% of Democrats, too. And so it's become a thing where it's increased among every single group from 2015 up to 2024. It's a shared concern.
Well, and I think one of the things that we all also have to realize is that by the time that someone gets to the border, Troy, that is not our immigration policy.
Right.
We have to recognize that the reason that we got to this moment was that Trump himself dismantled a lot of the programs where people could go ahead and file for some sort of visa or work permit in their home countries. And in an effort to rebuild that, you had COVID that really upended Latin America specifically. You had close to 16 million middle-class Latin Americans that went directly into lower class. They went into poverty, and there was no response internationally from any of this.
Yeah.
So as the president goes in and talks about how tricky the situation is, how it's a Western hemispheric issue, I hope he also recognizes that there are essential workers that are demanding relief, that have been here for 10, 20, 30 years, that have been paying their taxes, who have American children who are ready to vote for him if he actually recognizes their contributions.
But
if it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Willie.
Sir, come on, when is it not, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah. I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I was so damn weird going on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
This was just a diversion.
Security, make bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark territory.
General! General! Need to immediately evacuate everything. National security advisory. Stand down. Check it out. The business operations. The amateurs on a suicide mission.